Vas-y, c'est parti.
10, 9, ignition sequence start.
Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Got Spouse Need House podcast. I'm Loretta Cernowski, and we are Got Spouse Need House. And before you even ask, I'll let you know Got Spouse Need House is a team of realtors. We specialize in dealing with newlyweds and engaged couples. And when you deal with an agent from our team anywhere in North America, you get a 10% credit on closing because we know there is a little bit of a hefty cost associated with weddings. And today we have an absolutely fascinating guest all the way from my favorite part of the United States, New York. Welcome, Lauren Hill. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Thank you, Loretta. Thank you for having me. I am a wedding celebrant, or commonly known as an officiant, as well as a premarital coach here in New York City. So I'm basically that ride or die for my couples. I assist them in the process from beginning to end. I hold their hands, I wipe their tears, and I fully support them.
I have not heard of a premarital coach before. Is that like an add-on to being an officiant? Is it something different, or is it just different language?
So it's additional services. So what I do is I work with couples to kind of have those tough conversations prior to them saying I do, to talk about different things such as finances, what their communication styles are, what their expectations are when it
Wow.
pertains to.
And how did you get to be where you are? Was this something that you had in your previous career? Were you a counselor, or where did you get this idea to do this? And
So it initially started with officiating. I was asked by a friend to officiate a wedding with way too much wine and cheese. I agreed and said, yes, I do. I'll do it. But after I noticed what I got myself into, I said, let me do my due diligence. Let me do my research. Let me make sure that I know what the best practices are as it pertains to officiating. And then it just made me dive a little bit deeper after doing that first wedding, being able to support couples. And then I shifted into providing premarital culture services.
wow, that is such a good idea. And you just said the one thing about financing, because they always say that's the number one reason that couples break up,
It
because they
is.
have different financing styles and stuff like that. And when you're like super in love from the at the beginning, you're not really thinking about that, and then kind of reality hits after you get married, and uh, it's so that is such a good idea. Have you had an instant where people decided not to get married?
Yes, I've had a few. I had a few couples where they initially said that they were going to get married, and then they decided because of conversations or personal matters that it wasn't a good fit. And I have others where I turned down doing the wedding because there were some things discovered in an assessment, and I thought that they needed to do more counseling with a licensed therapist before taking the lead. So I turned it down.
That's very interesting. Wow, that's amazing. So now that you have this premarital coaching, so like normally like a wedding officiant just has the meet and then do the wedding. So how long do you work with someone?
So even without the coaching, it's a lot more work than people presume.
Okay.
So if a couple decides to do coaching with me, then we'll work on a schedule to do premarital sessions, whether we're doing a 90-minute session or we're breaking it up into 3 or 4 sessions. If they don't decide to do premarital coaching, then we're still working with each other 8 months in advance at sometimes, or sorry, my light just went off, or even a year so that we can prepare their ceremony, because all of my ceremonies are crafted for my couples. So I work with them very early on in the process, and I encourage couples when they are reaching out to their officiant to do that process earlier than what they think. While yes, we love the glam, we love the party of the wedding, the legalities, it's what makes it a wedding. Your officiant doing that ceremony, that's what makes the day a wedding. So that part deserves an important piece and component, and there's so many different elements to it.
Of course. So when you're doing your coaching and consulting, do you meet with them in person? Is it online? Do you have clients outside of New York?
So I do have clients outside of New York. I've officiated weddings in Hawaii, and if it's international, then it's international. I don't decline clients from around the world. The initial process starts with kind of like a vibe check. I do believe that connection should be at the forefront in what you do and how you select your vendors as it pertains to coaching or an officiant. So we have a little casual conversation where I get to know the couple a little bit more. I walk them through my process to see if we're a good mutual match. And
Mm,
then from that point, if they're local, then we may have an in-person meeting or we may just have virtual meetings. It just depends on the couple, what their
sure.
schedules, what.
And are there other people involved in your premarital coaching with the couple besides the couple themselves?
So
Like, is
it's
there
just
parents or kids or?
No, it's just a couple.
Okay.
So I do my coaching via the Save Your Marriage Before It Starts assessment. So they fill out a SYMBIS assessment. And then after that, we kind of walk through that assessment to see, what are the conversations that need to be had. Now, if there are other things that need to be said, I give them that grace and that space to hold those conversations with a mediator. And then we
Uh-huh.
just.
Okay. So we kind of touched on financing as one sticky subject that people should talk about. Is there other powerful conversation starters that you discuss with them?
Yes, communication is definitely one of them, what their communication styles are and what are their expectations. Like who's responsible for doing what. A lot of couples assume that maybe their partner is going to be responsible for taking out the trash or filling up the tank, but they don't have those conversations. So we walk through those conversations in addition to finances and other things like their spiritual beliefs. Maybe it's an interfaith couple. What are their thoughts as it pertains to children and their future and their family? So we talk about a little bit of everything.
That's great. So when you do find a issue, how do you deal with their disagreements and their fears?
I usually encourage them to come up with a safe word when conversations get heated. So if there's a heated conversation, not every conversation is most meant to be had at the moment. And
Right.
again, part of effective communication. So having them, acknowledge, hey, this is a conversation we need to have, but maybe we need to table this conversation. If they create that safe word, then they know, all right, whenever you say pineapples, we're not gonna have this conversation now. Or if I say escalate, we're not gonna have this conversation now. We'll have it at a different time
Uh-huh.
when, their heads are cool so they can have a conversation and not say something that they don't intend on saying. But again, just active communication is the biggest thing.
In
And
every relationship,
yeah,
business, everything. And it's
everything.
our most difficult one. Like as a realtor, I find that our world has changed a lot. I've been doing this for 32 years, and we had to have, face to face or on the phone conversations, and now dealing with your clients or with other realtors, so much stuff is just through text message, and you really can't communicate that even if you put a smiley face. And I have to constantly remind myself, just pick up the phone and call to have an important question, because you just can't put enough information in that text message, and people are dealing with the biggest investment of their lives.
Exactly.
So when you're having that communication is so important in any facet, love or business.
It is. And
So go ahead. Sorry.
I agree. I was just going to say that when it comes to communicating and having those big conversations, while text messages and emails are a good outlet to document those conversations, yes, sometimes you just got to pick up the phone and have a call with someone.
Yeah, like, can you believe how many people break up via text message?
That's, but yes, people do it.
Right? It's crazy.
It is.
So what, from your perspective, what is a truly memorable wedding ceremony? What makes the day?
Honestly, it doesn't matter if it's just the couple themselves and their witness or a larger ceremony. Honestly, there's something just very euphoric about celebrating with a couple and one of their, rites of passage. Like it's a huge milestone. So I've had wedding ceremonies with an older couple. They were in their 80s, decided to finally get married after being together for 50 years. And
Wow.
it was just as meaningful as a ceremony that I did for the Brownstone Boys here in New York City, where it was a huge block party wedding, you know, with a lot of excitement. So, still the same feeling, just different tiers and levels to it.
That must bring such a sense of like achievement to you because you're there on their most important day,
I,
making
I,
it more happy.
I love it. I love it. And I get to follow their journey and follow their story and stay in contact with my couples to see
Mhm.
how they're moving forward in marriage.
Sure. And so when you're doing your job, how do you make it personal to each couple?
So, as I tell my couples, I get in their business. So, it starts with that initial conversation where we kind of just have casual conversation. But during that conversation, I'm asking them personal questions, whether it's something about their relationship to the extent of if you had an item of your partner's that you can get rid of, what would that item be? Or if you have a pet, what would the pet say about your relationship? So, from the moment we have our introductory call, I'm asking them personal questions to get to know them. Then, after meeting with them to discuss like what their wedding flow is going to look like, because I want to make sure that it includes language that is important to them, that we're including elements that are important to them. I have them fill out a very detailed couples questionnaire. Both of them fill it out separately. And then I deep dive into that. I use the information and the words that they provide me with to craft their personalized ceremony, as well as the information I obtain from our personal planning sessions.
Wow, that's so important and enlightening. So, as you know, I sell houses, and in your assessment is one of the questions, do you talk about, are you guys going to buy a house? What does that house look like? What are you going to spend? Do you have the conversation about sort of real estate?
Not real estate per se, but what does their future look like? What do they see in their future? And real estate tends to come up in that question. And I also ask them in my questionnaire, where are they going to place their wedding pictures? Like after the wedding, where in their home are they going to place their pictures? Like, so those are like the two questions that are real estate or home related that I ask my couple.
I'm sure that that's not even a question or something that they discuss until afterward, and then it could be a huge, like, I just remember in the 80s, everyone had these big wedding photos above their bed. And I have not seen that showing houses, so that kind of trend must have went sideways. But so have you had some interesting, like people disagreeing, or where are they gonna put the pictures?
I think the question forces them to think about it after the wedding. Like, what are they
Sure.
doing with pictures? And some couples opt to do like a gallery wall where they have a wall in their living room where they place their pictures. Or maybe if they have a child, they may place a picture of themselves from the wedding and their children in that child's bedroom. I mean, it
Mhm.
differs from each couple.
Interesting. What is the most unconventional wedding that you've ever officiated?
Unconventional. I mean, I've had some really interesting weddings, such as that Brownstone Boys wedding, which was huge block party that was rooted in community, where the neighbors and even people just passing by were able to participate in the wedding. And then I've had other weddings. With another couple, I had a wedding that was at the Bone Museum, and our backdrop was a wall of human spinal cords, which was very unique to the couple and
Sure.
unique to, them being interested in forensic science. The bride was going into forensic pathology. So very different, very unique backdrop, but still the same love.
Right. So if you could give your couples one piece of advice that are watching this, what would you say to them?
In planning your wedding, do not forget about your relationship. Your relationship is what brought you to the wedding. Continue to make time for one another. Continue to date each other in that process. A lot of couples lose sight in the planning, but that's not the bigger picture. Like, the bigger picture is the relationship in itself. So you have to continue to fuel that relationship.
Makes sense. And just for fun, if you could officiate a celebrity wedding, whose would it be?
I have like two choices. I would probably, if Rihanna and ASAP Rocky were to get married, I definitely officiate that wedding. I feel like it would be fashion galore.
Right.
And their vows would probably be hilarious and have a little bit of storytelling in it. And my alternate would be to do the vow renewal of the Obamas. They are just such a grounded couple, and they have such history. They have a long relationship. And I think that that ceremony would be iconic.
Well, Lauren, maybe I'll tweet this out and
Bring it on.
tweet it to them and see. Wouldn't that be awesome? I might have to come to that wedding. And for those watching, how do they get in touch with you?
So they
What's the
can
best way?
So they can reach out to me via email at hello@simplyweddingsnyc.com, or they can visit my website and fill out an inquiry form. They can slide in my DMs on Instagram as well. I will respond to them, whatever's the most convenient.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today. For everyone watching, we will post her handles, social media handles, so that you can reach out to her. And do you have a wedding coming up this weekend?
Yes, I do. I have a wedding on Saturday, and then I have another one next Thursday.
Well, enjoy. Keep making couples happy. Have a
No problem.
fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for meeting with me, and have an amazing day as well.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.